right, welcome back to Redacted, episode, I don't even know what.
8.
Episode 8, thank you. I'm your host, David Shaner. I'm here with my co-host, Taylor Kottner, and Redacted is a show about what it's like to actually build a company with AI in 2026. So no influencer content, no hyping up the latest model, just me and Taylor ripping open what we did over the last sometimes week, sometimes more, and showing what we've built. The show can be consumed as a podcast, but the main format is screen sharing. So just a reminder that we do have a YouTube channel, and a lot of what we're doing here as we're talking through it, if you're wondering what the heck we're talking about, just go find us on YouTube and give it a look. Taylor, what's up? How you doing?
Hello. Good. All right. I'm just going to jump in because I have a lot today.
Dude, we don't have any fluff on the show. There's no how's your summer?
No.
Yeah, we don't do that. You're welcome. You're welcome.
I'm back from a vacation, and then it just recharged. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm already bored. I don't even know what you said. Go ahead.
All right.
You've been building.
Really quick, history stage. We are automating, as much as we can with offline. We still we need systems to do lead gen and help out the one salesperson we have at offline to sell and get 1,000 restaurants at offline as soon as possible. Right, that's the goal.
Yes.
And over the last 2 weeks, I basically just ended up shipping all of the stuff that I've been working on for the past 6 months, in the shape of something that you actually made, which was basically just like a Cloudflare worker system with a very light database in the back end, right? And I remember I talked about temporal last time, which was an interesting way to not have to build that stuff. And then I just kind of got sick of it because I was I don't know where I'm going to host that. And so I just told it to copy the thing that you had done for the offline MCP server, which had been regularly running our ticketing checker, which again, short version of that is every day that little agent, the small agent would look into HubSpot, look at all the open tickets, check on them, check Steve's email, and tell us if he needed to respond. Right? That's the TLDR for that.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. And I think just broadly that this is us moving from, okay, cool, I've got something kind of working on my computer, but how do I get it into production so that the whole company can use it and it can run all the time? Right.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
And so you had already built a couple things with authentication, so it knows who we are. And I was I'm just going to reuse that. And so it is a separate system than the one you built, but it's inspired by and basically the same shape as it, right? I think what will happen I will eventually consume everything that you've done into this system, because this has all of the new stuff in it. But what I wanted to show, and I want to show two things. I want to show the internal offline side, and then a product feature that we're launching this week, because I think they're both very interesting uses of AI. This one, I think the important thing that I wanted to show with this tool is it's running now every day. And every day it goes in and it looks at all of this little thing that we have in offline called restaurant events, which are things that happen in the news, right? We watch and then we got to process those things. And every day it goes in and it tries to find all of them, and then it reconciles them the way we want it to. It links it to the company. It does all the stuff, and it ultimately spits out this thing we call an outreach brief, which is, hey, if Steve was going to look at this company today to reach out to them, what would he need to know? Everything from the history of the company for the last 6 months or a year. Are there any open deals? Are there any things that would be important for him to grab onto to make that next connection with this restaurant partner? All right, so we had a little bit of technical issue. Docker is trying to take over David's computer. So I'm going to kind of summarize just from the start what we're looking at right now. And so at Offline, we've been building this agent system that we want to help run a bunch of different aspects of Offline. The one we've been working on and talking about here for the past 5 or 6 months or we've been working on it for 6 months, talking about it since the beginning of this podcast, is an agent system that will help do like lead gen and sales stuff for offline, right? And I recently launched it kind of on the back of something that you built, which was the like initial little agent system that found the offline tickets that the sales team and Steve had to care about. It kind of analyzed what was going on and let us know if we needed to reach out about it, right? That's like the short version of that. So I basically copied that whole system, put it into production, basically in the same spot, so that all of the tools that I've been building are available now in 2 different ways. The one way I'll show you today is, well, like I kind of made up and called mode A, which is automatic. And then there's mode B, which is if he wants to use any of these tools through an MCP server with Claude Desktop, he could. He just needs to connect to it a different way. And they both share the same tools, but the Claude Desktop version has skills. Don't want to talk about that today. This is the automated like dashboard that I have. And the thing that I've found out is, I think everybody kind of like thinks through this, but you don't really think about it until you're doing it, is someone just always has to watch these things, right? You just like always have to make sure that they're running well, that they're doing what you thought they were going to do, especially because they're not so deterministic all the time. And this is now I have like a daily, let's say like half an hour long ritual every morning that I come in here, and there's a skill that I run in Claude Code that I just say, hey, let's just run the daily sweep. And what it does is it's gone in here, and the first thing that it does is 6 a.m. in the morning, the agent wakes up and it finds and looks at all the restaurant, like the signals in the market that we have gotten over the past like couple days, and it runs them through our process, which is, let me see if I could try to link the signal to a company we already work with, or if not, I'll make that company in HubSpot. If the end result being a thing we call an outreach brief, which is just like a TLDR for everything that's going on related to that account, so that Steve can make the next logical outreach to expand our restaurant, like list, right? That all makes sense. And so what it will do is it will go through, find all those signals, run them through, and then it'll give me some notes, and it will say, hey, this one needs action from you, Taylor. Like something, it found unlinked legacy deals, right? And so we have all these rules that we don't need to go through. Like everybody has their own CRM rules. And this is going to now have it, like the skill walks me through the issue that happened and say, well, we probably shouldn't have this happen. So like, how could we reconcile it? Me and Claude Code will go through and figure out how to make it so that the next run tomorrow won't have this same error. And we're just doing this loop every single day. And then I was like, well, great. There's other things that I want to keep track of. One of them is drift between our like source of truth, which is our backend that has all the restaurants that members see, and HubSpot, which is a CRM, which everybody knows will be out of date if someone's not like constantly tending to the garden that is, their CRM. And so every day, this looks at all of the active restaurants that we actually work with and our members are seeing. And it goes, hey, are there any weird ones in HubSpot that are not updated properly? And this list was obviously much larger last week when I launched it, because there was a ton of drift. And now every day I can go in and say, nope, there's no restaurants that have churned. There's no weird like HubSpot things that are hidden that we don't see. It's just making the parity one-to-one in HubSpot so that when we do find a market signal, we can make a correct report, because there's no drift in the important parts that we care about, which are the companies that we work with, the locations of those companies that are live in our offline app, and maybe the ones that become live from a new signal in the market, like a restaurant opening. We want to know about that. Our backend's not going to know about that. But this agent can say, I saw the signal. You already work with this partner. Here's the next logical outreach email that you should send, right? It's also, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to take a second and kind of like summarize what I think. Let me make sure I'm following. So, you've basically hired an AI to it's running all the time without you. This first needs attention block is where it's taking in all these market signals that we've defined, like a new restaurant opened or a existing restaurant is expanding or something. Those come into the system, into HubSpot. It takes those and basically does two things with them. One is it looks at HubSpot and makes sure everything related to that signal is clean. The companies, the locations, like all the objects are clean and up to date. And then it also, which I think you're going to get to, it makes an outreach brief, which we'll get to in a second. But that's now your AI employee, and like now you're like, okay, now I'm the manager of this employee, and every day I need to kind of look at what that employee did yesterday, and be like, oh, it found something it needed. So you're like tier 2 support, maybe is a better way of saying it. It escalated this thing from 720. It's like, hey, I didn't know what to do with this one, boss. And now you're starting to AIify the management of the AI by systematically dealing with each one of those escalations, right? Because you're like, oh, we'll run a skill to deal with it. And then backend drift is, we have our backend, we have our CRM. Those are two separate databases. It is a law of physics that anytime you're trying to keep two things in sync, they will get out of sync. This one's like you hired an employee to be like, watch these two databases, and the minute they start drifting, you call me. And this is where you look at what they find, right?
Yes,
and
that's right.
And that's the only way, like you were saying, to ensure that later on when the AI says, hey, guys, look what I found, some signal in the market, you should, like, your sales guy should do this. This prevents us from being like, you're so close, but like you missed that we don't work with them anymore, or that like that location closed and then I can't send that email and now I don't trust the AI. And like, we're trying to prevent all this downstream stuff that causes people to be like, oh, AI doesn't work for me.
The other signal that I very much feel that I needed was signal from Steve. And like, we're very asynchronous at Offline. Like we meet, a couple times a week, but he's in his world working. And what I ended up doing for him this week was, hey, Steve, I created 1,000 outreach briefs for you. I don't know if I'm pretty sure they're okay, but like, I need you to tell me if they're okay. And we could spend hours going through that. But what historically happens when you spend hours with somebody is you go down all the rabbit holes, right? And you can't actually get the thing you want done. And so what I ended up doing was on these little deals that have an outreach brief generated, right? There's not one on this one because it's fake, but I just made a couple simple fields. Again, small company, very easy. Hey, like the last outreach brief was created on this date, right? 2 days ago. I gave Steve a handmade report in HubSpot that was like, Steve, here's all the outreach briefs that I made in the last like week. Go through and comment on them and just put that comment right in HubSpot, right? And so he can tell me that it's useful, it needs work, or it's off target. And he could just type in here. And that's all he has to do. And every day, it pulls in all of the outreach brief feedback that Steve gave me. And now I can have the AI go through and bucket these outreach things that Steve wrote. Like, he spent a lot of time. I like very much appreciate it. But then I like, instead of going through each one by one, right? It's a lot of work. I can just say, hey, AI, pull in the stuff and tell me the categories, bucket them. Like, oh, hey, one of them, but one bucket, this deal shouldn't exist. Great. That's a very specific fix versus this one, which is like, hey, you know what? I got this one. I don't actually need you to deal with it. I don't know what I'm going to do with this stuff yet because we just started, getting this, but I think the feedback loop that got created was like the correct one.
Yes.
Where Steve is doing this thing in his work stream, in his workflow that is very mentally like, I'm going to read these and I'm going to give feedback and then I'm done. I don't need to worry about it. And he knows that it's going to go there. And then the other thing of like closing that loop, when I fix it, what I'll do is I'll come in here and press this little button that I made called Mark Handled. It'll take Steve's previous feedback, remove it, and just like put it on the account. This is just like a truth that I wanted to make sure that like if Steve was like, I already did this one, he's not going to be like, wondering what he said before, right?
Yes.
And this is, again, just like the simplest version of this. Like I could have made a new HubSpot object and like done all this stuff, but I was like, no, you know what? For now, these are just fields. I'll copy the fields into a note when I'm done with it. And if it worked right, Steve shouldn't need to give me feedback on this one again, because it should be fixed, right? Whether that's true and how long it takes is going to be, up to how many loops I can get done in the next like couple weeks. But that's like this evolution of this system. Like, I'm sure you have a lot to say about this kind of stuff because we've been doing it a lot.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to like, I'm buffering. The thing that we've been talking about a lot is like, as a company like Offline pushes forward the frontier of what is like AI-ified. And I've used this language maybe in this podcast a lot in our conversations. It's like someone, and in this case it's Steve, has to be kind of like cutting the trail through the jungle, because he's the human that's like sensing out the right way to do something, like to reach out to restaurants, to expand accounts, to do all these things. And then you in this case are like the bulldozer that's trying to come behind him and like build a paved road. And we've been wrestling with how do we do that process? How do we do that thing of somebody's cutting through the jungle, somebody's coming behind them? And I think what you were referencing is that earlier in the year, I'm thinking about our like offsite meeting where we were earlier in the process, but it was kind of similar. And we were like, oh, Steve, here's 20 market signals. Like, tell me what you think about these signals. And he had gone and spent time in his world taking notes on each one of those 20 market signals to tell us how they should be like AI-ified, right? And fast forward to July, and now what we're doing is we're saying, oh, we actually want to capture as structured data that dynamic. Hey, we're gonna, it's almost like we're generating our own training data. We're gonna put out a bunch of restaurant briefs, V1. You're gonna leave us feedback. We're gonna capture all of that as structured data. And if we missed on 70% of them, next time we do it, it's going to be 50%, and then it's going to be 30%, and then it's going to be 10%, and then it's going to be that all the restaurant briefs are correct. But those 5 iterations are now essentially going to be structured data, instead of like, hey, let's get an hour on the calendar and kind of like talk through how this process is going, right? And I think this structured way is way faster, and you can actually work with Claude directly in the data, instead of you having to be the game of telephone where it's like, oh, I met with Steve and like Steve said this, and maybe if I recorded the meeting, we can both look at the transcript, but it's not structured. It's not like, this brief got this feedback for these reasons. This brief got this feedback for these reasons. Let's ingest them. Let's bucket them, like you were saying. I just feel like this is such a common thing that I think we're experiencing, and I'm assuming a lot of people are experiencing, is like, how does an AI engineer and a less technical person who's simulating what the AI should be doing in the future, like, how do they work together to AI-ify stuff?
Yeah. I mean, I think the other 2 good parts of this are Steve's working where he wants to work, HubSpot.
Yeah.
I'm working where I need to work, which is the literal code for the app. So all of the feedback is literally being pulled into the system that is doing the work. And so, like, not that AI can't help and figure that out, but like, this is the repo that this Claude code is working in. It's pulling in the stuff from HubSpot, saving it in the repo. And now I have the code and the feedback and the history of the runs that got us here. We have everything that we need. And again, like, ask me in a month how this went. Like, I think it's getting better, but this is now like rubber meets the pavement kind of thing, rubber meets the road kind of thing, where is it useful or is it a waste of Steve's time, right? Like, and how fast we make it useful?
Can I see one of the outreach briefs real quick before we move on to the next thing?
Yeah, let's look at like one of the ones that Steve like
said actually mattered.
Yeah. Like Mac's speed shop.
Because I'm looking at this
one.
screenshot, like there's a lot of feedback that he's leaving. Like it, yeah, okay. Like this is the part that I think is the most interesting is like, is the relationship history correct for all of these people? And then based on that, what are we telling, what are we recommending that the outreach consist of?
Yeah.
But
there's like a lot of stuff here,
right? Yeah, it's pretty exhaustive.
A lot of stuff here.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Recent qualified, the signals. We have deal context, the contacts, and it could probably be distilled a little bit, right? But like, this is the source information for an email that's supposed to be written. So maybe who cares? Like if it's a little bit, Steve's not really meant to consume these in the long term.
Right. Yeah. I mean, this all looks right. I think what you're getting at is that like a good SDR, like a world-class SDR might look at all that information and they're going to have a sense for what the most important, like 5% of it is,
Yeah.
Or they're going to throw the whole thing out and they're going to say, it just matters that I call them 8 times until they answer.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. Like, I would love to have that signal too. To be like, how many times did Steve call them?
But yeah, right. Like, but I think all the information's there. It's all tied together correctly. In theory, we have everything that we need for that next step. And this is now running on the cloud, and you've moved into like the manager seat instead of the system builder seat for this system.
It's the thing we call iterative loop at Offline, where it's like it's not working yet, but it's running, and we're constantly making it better, right?
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Let me show you one more thing because I think this is cool. Like, we haven't really worked on the Offline mobile app in a while because we've just been so busy with this stuff. For a number of reasons, like we, are just getting back into it. And so when I got back from vacation, I was like, I want to work on the Offline mobile app. We had like a big 4.0 ready to go. And I'm not going to like talk about the features about like what's out now. I do want to talk about there was this card in ClickUp where, like we have most of our stuff at Offline. A long time ago, you put it in here. It was called the Nearby Challenge. And you're like, hey, it would be super cool if we could just like put our address in and it finds the 5 restaurants closest to you. And it's just like a fun way to push people around their neighborhood. And I was like, yeah, that is a cool idea. I'm gonna do that one. And I ended up thinking through it. And the pieces where I felt like I was not able to really like do a good job is the design and the email marketing. Historically, right? Like I've always had a team to rely on be like, hey, make me a beautiful email. Here's what I wanted to say. And then the design, we've had incredible designers over the years. We just like don't have access to them right now. And I was like, I do need to figure it out. And so what I ended up doing was chatting with you a little bit to where you had made this a new landing page for our partners, right? And you spent a lot of time working through this, and I ended up backing out a design system for this from this to be like, all right, here's where Offline is going design wise. I need you to also take a look at the mobile app code and know that it is not going to be the landing page design, but it's already got a lot of opinions and they're very good. And I need to merge those two. And the thing that I ended up having to do, again, at your recommendation was, hey, we need a design system in the mobile app that is just basically primitives. And if those primitives have an example, you must use those when you design Claude. And that took a little while because, the first iteration of this was like it made up its own thing and it was fine, but it like just didn't fit. Right. So I backed out that design system. It is now like a skill in the project, so that whenever we're building stuff, it pulls in those primitives, from offline mobile. It has the design system in, and then it can make new features, and it can tell me when it's decided to go off the rails a little bit. And I thought that was great. And I was like, I'm going to keep doing this. So like, again, we don't need to go through this feature, but like, you join it, you put an address in, and it finds the 5 spots that are closest to you. Like, yeah. So that idea, like, cool. The next piece is like, I felt really good about the design. I ended up cleaning up the app a lot, because a lot of the primitives, like, it's been 5 years of app development that we've just been like, had one, amazing app developer, but we haven't like really paid attention to it. And it's just so hard to keep it in parity. And so I was like, well, run through the rest of the app and clean it up. And that took me like 1 day basically. And like, it looks much more like it's hard to see, but you'll see it subtly over time. And as new features get put in, that will happen. It's like, well, I have this nice, beautiful app now. I need an email. Like, I need a good looking email, right? And so the next thing I ended up doing was, and you're not looking, this is the old Weekender email. I was like, great, I'm going to do that same thing. I'm going to make an email design system that's opinionated, that looks good in email. It's going to work for email, but it's going to be inspired by the website and inspired by the app. And then we're going to make a skill, right, which is now the product announcement email skill. It's got like very opinionated opinionated things about how to make things look good in email, right? Tables, not flex grid. You can't use those. And then there's the email design system. And right now there's 2 types. There's like the partner emails, which are very simple, to the point. And then there's the product announcements, which are much more like fun and friendly, right? And so I was like, well, I can also do that to clean up one of the most annoying emails that I've been wanting to clean up for a year and a half, which is the email that we send out every week, which is what's going on in your market. And so this was the old one, right? We just had this top header, trending restaurants. These are reviews that people wrote. Restaurants coming soon. Whatever. It was fine. It was great. It was great at the time. Now it will look like this one, which is in the product email, which is your week. It's got your friends. It's like I added the whole friend feed in here, which is a huge part of offline, right?
Yes.
Now they show up in here. The last 5. The new this week, right, looks just like a little bit more offline and email friendly.
Yes.
What members are saying. These are the reviews that were previously in here. It's got like a header one, and it's got subtle ones. But I think the idea is that, like, great, well, now I have a way to make emails that I didn't have before, right? So like, if you look at the 4.2 version, this is the new like email that we have for when we launch the features, right? You have the like top about what it is, a little blurb at the top, and then components about like why, like what we did, and then not app screenshots, because I never loved app screenshots in emails. They always look ugly. And so we've abstracted that into like, here's the idea of the challenge, right? Like, you have a nearby challenge, badges for referring people, follow the flag. Like, there's flags throughout the mobile app if there's part of a challenge that you're a part of, right? None of this would have been done like historically. Calendar sync, I got annoyed that it wasn't working, so I fixed it and put it back in the app. And then I realized that as you're doing these things, you do have to be careful, because when you do send something that AI makes, sometimes it fails and you don't notice it. And so I sent an email announcing the 4.1 release, which had profile photos and stuff. Nobody got it. And I didn't even realize it until like today, 7 days later, that 10,000 failed because AI made it and messed up the unsubscribe link in it. And so it just failed. And so I was like, oh, okay. So now that's part of my check, right? Where like we have to go through and make sure that all the fields are right. So,
well, that's why we have iterative loop, right? Like that.
Yeah.
That's iterative loop.
That's iterative loop. Yeah. Again, like this nearby challenge email, I was like, I need a way to announce new challenges. Build me like a pretty one. I have the badge, and we already have all the data in it. And like, this is just inspired by the other one, right?
Yes.
I would say that this email, these nearby challenge ones, and the mobile 4.2, less than 1 hour to like craft through, right? The Weekender took longer because it was like a complete redesign, but even the Weekender took me like, I would say, a half a day to like completely revamp and get all these new features in. So
That's so
cool. It was
crazy.
so much fun, right? And like
This,
people are going
yeah.
to see these, they're going to use them. I hope people are going to be excited about it. But all right, I've talked too much. So if you want to ask any questions about this, sorry.
No, I don't have any questions. I was just thinking, gosh, we have a board meeting on Thursday. It's gonna be fun to like show. I should call it a board sync, I guess. I don't know. It makes my head go in so many different places at once. It's probably not even really that useful, but it's very cool. It's really inspiring. Like, I think it's funny contrasting the HubSpot cleanup, which has been months going on year plus of pain and suffering, because it's a really, really freaking hard, like, it's just been hard. And then to contrast that with something like the mobile app where you just get that gratification of, holy cow, like, I cannot believe what's possible now. And the compounding, right? Like, we spent a lot of time crafting that B2B landing page. That design, we get that forever. And the lessons from that, we get that forever. And like, we get to apply that to other things. It doesn't leak out. Let me share real quick. Let me move this into the chat, or into the, whatever it's called. Because I'm really excited about this, and it's related to the landing page. So this is a draft of a blog post that I'm wrapping up. But I've talked a lot in the last few episodes about building this landing page, and so I had some fun with it. I don't feel like I've done a great job in this like show of taking what we've learned and helping other people do it. Like, we've shown them, that's great, but like, I really want people to be able to like take this stuff and run with it. And we introduced show notes, which I think is really cool. And I was like, oh, what if I could have a guide to making this landing page that we've talked about on the show, and then also push all the related skills and stuff into that show notes repo, and then somebody could kind of take that and run with it if they wanted to. So I'm not quite finished with this blog post, but I went back and I had Claude use that same methodology that I use for calculating all my time that I spent on projects, to tell me how many hours did I spend on this landing page. So it was 64.39 hours. And I kind of went ahead and broke it down the way that we have started to talk about this stuff. Like, what is the process and context that I went through from start to finish for this landing page? Like, you know, sourcing sales calls, using voice of customer to define positioning, turning the positioning into wireframes, turning the wireframes into designs, iterating. And I went back and found all the original files, all the original prompts. And I was able to just trace this thing all the way through. This one's really cool. I'm in draft mode, so I can't open it, but this actually opens up the session between me and Claude Design. I took all the turns out of the session and I put them in a session viewer. Let me show you this, because I can get the link actually. So this, I had Claude extract all the turns between me and Claude Design from the interface, and then shove them in here, because all that stuff lives in the cloud, right? Like, you can't find the JSON-L file. And so I was like, you know, I quote unquote like design this landing page really quickly, you know, like using AI. And I was like, how many turns was this really? And it was like 74 turns. And like, I wanted people to see that is where like there's still a lot of human taste that has to enter that process. And I think a lot of times you see these really pretty landing pages that people do with AI. My guess is it looks a lot more like that. Like, there's a lot of back and forth if you really want to get it right and get it looking good on mobile and everything. So then I added up all the hours. So figuring out what to say on the page was 16 of the 64. So that was
Mhm.
like, because making a pretty page now is kind of a commodity. It's like positioning is hard still, and like positioning combined with design is still kind of hard. The design itself, that back and forth, was about 6 hours of actual like hands on the keyboard, not just waiting for
Yeah.
stuff. And then the production build was actually 42.
Mhm.
Like getting it from like, oh, this is pretty, to all right,
Yeah.
people can visit it, everything's wired up, all the buttons work, all the API data flows, like all of that. It's still like not trivial, right?
Yeah.
Um,
For a
and s-
good, like for good stuff, right? Like
for
you could
good,
have done
for
that in
good,
half the
yeah.
time, but it wouldn't have been like something that you wanted to put out. There's still like that aspect of it where it's like,
It would smell like it
yeah,
would be the
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
thing that people like me and you would look at and they'd be like, oh, he just freaking one shotted that with Claude, and you can tell,
yeah.
right? Like,
Mhm.
um, yeah, the word load bearing is on the landing page. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
so then this last bit, which is a bit that I'm like kind of working through, is contrasting the time that it took for me to do that with how long it would have taken in the old world. Right.
Mhm.
I was really trying to think through like, okay, is AI like actually making me more productive, or
Sure.
am I just absorbing all this work that we used to have other people do? So I was
Mhm.
going back and thinking like, before you even build a landing page, there would be a 2-hour kickoff meeting just to agree that it should be a priority.
Yeah. Mhm.
Right? Here's all the
Yep.
things we could spend our time on. Should we make a new landing page? Like that, 10 hours is probably very generous. Like that would probably chew up like an entire week of
Yeah.
time over a series of like 15 meetings. So basically I'm going to put this blog post out. It kind of has all of the steps. But what it ends with, which brings me back to what you were saying, is the compounding, right? It's like,
Mhm.
yes, this took 64 hours, but every single thing that I did is captured. So if we wanted to do it again, it's probably 30 hours. And if
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
now want to take it and use all the things that we uncovered with that landing page for mobile, it's just one prompt away, you know? And so I really think it's this compounding that is the X factor. Um,
Yeah.
the way all this information just stacks and stacks and stacks as you build. So that was a big one. And then I think the other quick one that I'll show is this is my offline accountability chart. I keep updating it.
Mhm.
Um, I've got visionary C, key external relationships. I had already worked on that shareholder update, which I shared earlier. I think it was like episode 1. This
Yeah.
one was like key external relationships for biz dev. I spent a lot of time building some skills to basically say, hey, here's 20 companies that we care about, that we've had a relationship with over time in the space, and
Yes. Yeah.
how can I like keep in touch with them, right? And like keep abreast of what they're doing.
Yeah.
So
It's market signal outreach brief, right? Like
it is. It
it's
is.
that.
That's a great point. It's the same freaking thing, just at a different, it's like you yeah, it's the same thing. So I'll probably, because we're already at like 43 minutes, I might get into this a little bit more with the next one, but I wanted to show you, like, I had it run this morning. Um and like I'm not unaware that there are like AI CRMs that will like,
Mhm.
you'll log in and they'll be like, oh, like you're selling to Capital One Dining, and like they were in the news recently. Um, but I have not, again, back to like why we're hand building all of our outreach stuff. Like I've not found that they that I can get those things to think about it the way that I want to think about it, and like the depth that I want to define it in.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
there's more to say there, but basically I ran it this morning, and it keeps up with all these companies, and it gave me these signals, but it saves all of this to an individual file. And it said, hey, like Capital One Dining is shutting down. Just found out about
Mm.
that.
Yeah.
Amex is looking at acquiring the Fork for 700 million. The company Built, which does a lot of like cashback rewards, is under a Senate banking consumer harm inquiry.
Nice.
Eaters ownership has resolved. So like people that I know there are like shuffling around. And so there's a new state of play there. Reservation wars are going on between OpenTable and Seven Rooms and DoorDash is wiring reservations into Dash Pass. So what this thing has that a generic CRM prompt wouldn't have is like all of my communication history and like my point of view on all of these companies and how offline might fit in with them. And so as the models get smarter and smarter and smarter, like the briefing that they give me back is like, oh yeah, that is probably, if I were to open up one of these full briefs, this actually probably is like exactly the way I would think about it and what I should do based on that. And so these are again all prompts that I'll probably, after I talk about this in more depth, put in the repo. It's just another one of those, functions where now I've hired like a biz dev intern, and now I have to, talk to it and improve it.
Yeah, and the hiring like framing is really useful for me a lot of the time, because it's like you're not just like getting an agent to do your work. Like it's better if you interact with it and make it better. Just like when you hire a person, you manage them. Like the goal is to make that person a better version of what you could do. That's why you hired them.
Totally. Right? Yeah, no, I agree. I think the hiring framing is a huge unlock. Like, even if you hired your smartest friend to come work in your company, if you imagine you just give them one prompt and like you give them one paragraph of instruction and access to all your systems, like that doesn't mean they're going to do the right thing just because they're smart. Like you really do have to think about it in terms of onboarding, training, like iterative loop, right? Like supervision. It's just a much healthier way to think about AI. Okay, cool. Anything else before we wrap?
No,
I don't think so. We got some guests coming up. Who do we have coming on?
Oh man,
we got Josh. I think Josh is coming on soon from Elephants.
Josh and Parker.
Oh yeah, Parker's coming on. Yeah, all the NC State bros are coming on the pod. So yeah, we'll have those episodes coming up. And then if you want to keep up with offline, it's letsgetoffline.com. Me and Taylor are on LinkedIn. My URL is davidmshaner.com for my website. And Taylor,
I'm at heytaylor.dev is the best one. And then all of this stuff is in the show notes. Like the show notes link back to our GitHub repo, which has basically an episode history of any of the useful things that we think people will use. And if you want something else in there from an episode, just like email us.
Love it. All right, y'all. Till next time. See you, Taylor.